with the Brewster call, Jason Brewster himself.
Hello.
We're here at the People's Convention by Turning Point Action here in Detroit, Michigan. Do you have anything you want to say?
Yes, sir. I'm Jason Brewster, host of the Brewster Call. Very small channel, but I'm unapologetically committed to sharing the truth as I know it. And I want to spread the message that young people are not all that lost. And so if anything, DeJon here is a good ambassador for the beliefs that he shares. And I want to share that. The video will be uploaded in a few days. And a few days.
Two years later.
Hello, welcome to the Brewster Call, a show where liberty lives, ad hominem dies, and commies need not apply. And today, here with me is...
DeJon, Reid, how y'all doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right today. Happy to be here out in Detroit for the People's Convention put on by Turning Point Action. Why don't we get started? What do you think about the event so far?
I love the event. The people are amazing. This is my first time coming to an event like this. So.
Oh, well, welcome.
No, thank you. I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're my first interview. So
I'm your first interview.
Yes, you are.
Wow,
yes.
so this is a big deal, guys. I've got DeJon's first interview here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you are a TikToker.
Yes, you could call me that.
Okay.
In a realm, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So.
Yes, sir.
And you said what your following's like 500,000?
Over half, but numbers.
No, I mean, I like the idea of short form content. I feel like there is there's upsides and downsides.
Absolutely.
Because when I had TikTok,
yes, sir,
what I'd often do is I'd download videos onto my phone.
Yes, sir.
And I would start using it as a surrogate for social interaction. I'd be like, hey, look at this video,
yes, sir,
rather than actually talking or telling them
yes,
about
sir,
things.
Exactly. So I think that's the benefit of long form as well. I feel like long form can give you a more in-depth explanation. However, I think today we're in a time where the attention span is very minute.
I agree.
Shall I say?
No, trust me.
Yeah.
I know all about that.
Yeah, of course. So that's why I try to, bring a lot of that energy to a place like TikTok where individuals may need it, because I think that's where, and especially the right, I think they kind of lack that representation, especially for a younger, more broader audience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the young people is where it's at, because we have to ultimately inherit the earth and all of the problems that are happening.
Yes, sir.
One thing I feel is that the American dream's kind of been stolen from us. The cost of my dad's mortgage for his house would be the cost of our monthly rent.
Yes, sir.
So, when you're on the ground and you're engaging with other young people, like the two of us, like, what's your thoughts about that? The pessimistic, optimistic, like what do you think is the state of the future of our country?
So I try to always be optimistic, right? I think, for example, I'm currently in the Air Force, right?
Whoa, well, thank you for your service.
Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you. No, so I would say that, like, individuals like that, they're going to have a dilemma when it comes to job security, etc. You can have that secure job within the military, or you can kind of, play the risky game and get out and, are you going to be able to afford a house, right? Is your job going to pay you enough? And especially depending on where you are in the country. But again, I always like to think optimistic. I think that times will get better. And I think this upcoming election is going to be very important. I can't say too much about it because, my position within the military, right?
Oh, yeah. But I don't want to talk about your boss.
I think the election will be important. And I just got to say, individuals get out there. And even if you aren't able to vote, for example, this will be my first time voting.
Nice.
So even if you aren't able to kind of spread the word, let your voices be heard, and that optimism will be there. Yeah.
Well, I consider myself a realist with a chef's sprinkle of optimism, because
Yes,
I feel like I don't want it to be hopium.
Okay.
I don't want it to be optimism to the point. I feel like if you get too pessimistic, people won't do anything. If you get too optimistic, people are not going to do anything either.
Yes, sir.
So you have to find that balance, and I think realism, but I always like to maintain a bit of hope.
Yes, sir.
Because if you're just a Debbie Downer about everything, where's your motivation to actually do stuff?
Exactly.
And the real situation on the ground, particularly in the Northeast,
okay,
is that there's this pervasive spirit of cowardice.
Okay.
Where, it's courageousness versus cowardice. Is you feel fear.
Yes, sir.
Do you act or do you retreat? And so a coward's going to retreat, is going to be the type of person who will quietly see you wearing a MAGA hat, be like, oh yeah, I believe you, but all secret, hush hush, like
Yes,
no one
sir.
else is watching.
Yes, sir.
So how do you combat this? I mean, as a younger person,
Yes, sir.
I've certainly felt like I can't go into my college classroom and be like Trump 24 booyah,
Yes, sir.
because I'm going to
Yes,
be
sir.
practically burned at the stake. So what do you think?
I would say I've had experience of peers of mine kind of mentioning how it is in a lot of those college environments to kind of feel like you have to cater to those individuals, or coddle them, and you can't really voice yourself. And I think that's a horrible thing. And I dealt with a lot of that growing up. As a Black conservative, as they'll say, I was never really given this room to kind of voice the way that I was feeling about certain things. And I'll say that I think that's a horrible thing. I don't know how exactly we can fix that, but what I will say is I think there has to be a balance, right?
Agreed.
There has to be a balance of showing strength, right, and showing a bit of restraint.
No, prudence is the word that I would use. Is
prudence.
To
okay.
know.
I like that.
For example, there are people, and I won't speak too much about this because it's an ongoing thing, but there are people who would rather see me censored. Now, I could be, oh, you guys are all tyrants and you guys stink, and every despot in history has tried censoring people.
Yes, sir.
But then they could just turn around and be like, see, he is hateful, just like we thought he was. So I'm not going to fall into that trap because I know they want to antagonize me, but I have to take a step back and be like, ultimately, we have to take the long-term strategy and not fall for like letting the temper get the best of you. And I think that's a lot of people on the left is, because I used to be there, believe it or not, emotionally manipulated into believing a policy position that feels good but doesn't work,
Yes, sir.
And one thing I think, and maybe you can talk a bit about this, you were saying that, people feel like they have to conform.
Yeah.
But I found on college campuses the concept of diversity is a nice sounding word, but ultimately we all look different, but we think the exact same.
Exactly. So, for example, I believe that when it comes to diversity, I'm not really going to care about the diversity of colors, right? I'm not going to care about the diversity of your phenotypical traits, your forehead, your nose, your mouth, your lips, etc., your skin, right? I care about the diversity of ideas. And a white individual
with you, man.
Exactly. A white individual from Baton Rouge, Louisiana may have different ideas and different cultural standards from the white guy in Boston, Massachusetts, for example, right? I think that's pretty diverse, even though individuals will look at those two individuals and say, hey, that's not diverse at all. I don't think that's the way to think about it. I don't think because you have a white individual, a Black individual, and an Indian individual that you're going to get three completely different perspectives. And if anything, that's pretty racist.
Yeah, no, I think that it's very limiting and kind of reductive to just be like, you have to think this way because of the melanin content of your skin.
Exactly.
I mean, I genuinely want to hear everybody's ideas, and yet it seems like there's almost this regression on the left where it's, if you say like, oh, I don't see color, the sentiment behind that is, I have a dream that we want to judge people not on the content, color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Yes,
yeah. And so the idea of a colorblind society is like, of course, you're a Black man, right? Air quotes.
Air quotes,
but
yeah.
You're a human, and you have ideas, and you have a lot of stuff. And so when I say I don't see color, of course I see that you're Black, but it doesn't impact. I don't have preconceived stereotypes.
Exactly. You can see color, but it's about seeing beyond the color.
But a bunch of people on the left are going to be like, oh, you don't see color? Are you denying their culture? Are you like saying that like it doesn't matter? I'm like, no, like if you're like, for example, on my first date with my current girlfriend who's biracial.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
She was wearing it was like a bandana. Now, I had no clue if it was like a bonnet or a do-rag, but I was asking her, so like, tell me about that thing on your head. Tell me about, is it something to do with your culture? She was like, oh no, it's just a bandana. But she had later told me about a friend of hers who was like, okay, do-rag, and kind of just the ignorance to just assume that it's something that it's not. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that it almost is reductive, and it's one of those things. Is like you you should be able to ask and have that exchange of cultures. I feel like
Exactly.
the attitude is like, oh, you're like, I felt this on college campus that like, oh, I shouldn't ask someone else about their thing because
Exactly.
it's going to be perceived as like a microaggression.
Exactly. And this is what I'll say to that. The idea of cultural appropriation has been incredibly overworked.
Okay.
I would say if a lot of the things that we're calling a cultural appropriation are cultural appropriation, then everybody's cultural appropriating all the time. The food we eat, the things we do on a daily basis. America is a melting pot, like it or not, right? A lot of these individuals, for example, individuals who say you can't wear braids, you can't wear locks. Well, those originate somewhere. And let's be honest, the average African American is going to be of West African descent. Box braids are coming from South Africa. So if anything, West Africans or African Americans are culturally appropriate in South Africa.
Right, and I remember
exactly.
there was I think someone, was it Will Witt, attended like Dr. Phil, and it was arguing like him and Ibram X. Kendi were doing a back and forth, and he was like, you know, the very dreadlocks that you're wearing right now come from the Vikings.
The Nordics, yeah.
The Nordics, yeah. So I think that what's good about America, one of the many things is that, as you're saying, it's a melting pot. So we take the good and we leave the bad.
Exactly.
Because we strive for excellence. We strive for a more perfect union.
Those values,
right?
yes, sir.
So TikTok's been on the news a lot lately.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you feel like China's spying on you?
So what I will say in regards to TikTok, I'm not as educated as I should be on the matter. However, what I have heard is that it's more of a Singaporean app, if anything, and I believe that they do have stations within the U.S. My only critique would be, if we do get rid of TikTok, let's say we do get rid of it, what exactly would alleviate the idea of also getting rid of Facebook or an Instagram, or if that makes sense?
Well, no, I think that data harvesting is bad.
Oh yeah,
any
absolutely.
way that you cut it. Like,
absolutely.
I heard this example, like, a lot of people elected Obama because it's like, oh, George Bush is bombing kids in the Middle East and that's bad. Obama gets in office and then he starts bombing kids in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So the response would be, hey, it's still bad and now you're doing it.
Yeah.
We elected you not to do that, and we're just as angry. But you find is that they try to come up with justifications like, oh, it's somehow okay because it's our guy doing it.
Yeah.
If you're saying that something is wrong, you should maintain your moral integrity and have it be wrong across the board.
Exactly, consistency.
Like when Trump did the bump stock ban, you know, that was an infringement on shall not be infringed on our Second Amendment. You know, that was one thing where I can be critical of him because I'm not worshiping the ground he walks upon.
You're worshiping
I think that his ideas are good,
exactly.
but he's an imperfect man. But you know,
exactly.
God can use an imperfect person for good deeds, you know?
Exactly. We're told not to idolize,
like
right?
King Solomon, right?
Yeah.
In conclusion, what message do you have for the people? I sense, like I said, the spirit of cowardice. There's a lot of people who are on the fence that they have their cushy jobs and they don't want to put it on the line and actually stand up for anything because they could lose everything.
Exactly. I would say that there are going to be people that try to tear you down, regardless of your identity, regardless of what you look like. They're so attached to their identities that you have to conform. Be disattached from your identity, right? Don't cater to the masses. I believe that the victim mindset that plagues our country today, it's literally that. It is a plague. So in conclusion, you know, I'll say, coming from where I come from, people like to claim that, oh, you know, you're just defeating the odds, right? That's not how it is for everybody. I would say in the greatest country on the planet, I'm not defeating the odds. I'm proving that regardless of your identity, regardless of what you look like, there are no odds, right? Especially based on race. Everybody has an opportunity. You just have to go out there and grab it. And again, don't let individuals deter you from trying to grab that based on their preconceived notions of you.
Well, DeJon, thank you for coming on the show, and
Thank
I'm
you, sir.
honored to be your first interview.
Of course, thank you.
And where can we find you on TikTok again?
You can find me on TikTok at DeJon Reid or on Instagram at DEJ0N.
Can you spell DeJon Reid for?
Yes, sir. So it's going to be like, you say it like deja vu. So it's going to be THEVDEJON, DeJon, REID, DeJon Reid.
Okay, because I was going to spell REED.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, a lot of people make that mistake. Yeah, a lot of people.
Well, a lot of people say BRU.
BRU.
Yeah, no. So Brewster Call.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they do that. That'd be Brewster, I think. But
Brewster.
No, I like it. I like the Brewster as well.
Yeah, well, I think I've created a good brand. I'll tell you the story about that after that.
And I think you've been a fantastic interviewer.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Well, thank you again
so
for
much.
coming.
Yes, sir.
And I will look forward to seeing this on TikTok and
yes, sir.
sharing it around
of course.
the people I do know.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate
All right.
you.
Have
Yes,
a
sir.
great. God bless.
Yes, sir.